Khalid bin Walid, a divine warrior whose journey took him from being the fiercest enemy of Islam, becoming the unbreakable sword of Allah, also known as an undefeated military genius, who fought more than 200 battles, a war strategist, who had conquered the greatest empires of his time, Roman, Persian, and the Sasanian Empire, much like taking on the superpowers of this current era that is USA, Russia, and China. His life story is filled with adventures and brilliant tactics, but before embracing Islam, he was a formidable force against Muslims, responsible for the martyrdom of many Sahaba. However, after accepting Islam, he transformed his life into a prominent warrior figure of Islam. Get ready to go through journey of this divine warrior's life tale. Hazrat Khalid bin Walid was born around 592 century into the Banu Makhzum clan of the Quraysh tribe in Mecca, a powerful family known for its warriors, and held significant influence over the region's social and economic structures. We can compare his clan to another influential clan named Banu Hashim, from which our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, belongs. His father, named Walid ibn Mughira, was a wealthy and influential leader of Arab province. By the time young Khalid reached 18 years of age, in 610 century, Mecca was a city in the throes of significant upheaval. It was a turning point in the Middle East. It was in this year that a profound event began to unfold. A solitary figure, known as Muhammad ibn Abdullah, peace be upon him, on this esteemed night, he started to receive divine revelations in the secluded cave of Hira. The angel Jibreel had descended upon him and said, "Iqra." Prophet thought he was asking him to read. He being illiterate, he replied he couldn't read, and also he was in shock. He thought he was alone in the cave in meditation, but then suddenly there was someone with him at this night. Jibreel again said, "Iqra." The Prophet replied the same. The third time, when Jibreel said, "Ya Nabi, Iqra," the Prophet realized that he was asking him to repeat after him. "Read in the name of your Lord who created man from a clinging substance, read, and your Lord is the most generous, who taught by the pen, taught man that which he knew not." This marked the inception of Islam, a faith destined to transform the fabric of Arabian society and the whole world. Hazrat Khalid, then a vigorous young man, was raised amidst the traditions and customs of his clan, which included a rigorous training regimen in horsemanship, swordsmanship, and the art of warfare. His early life was characterized by the valor and martial prowess that would later define his legendary status. During the early years of Islam, the Muslims faced intense opposition and persecution from the Quraysh, who saw Prophet Muhammad's monotheistic message as a direct threat to their religious and economic interests, who prayed to different types of gods in sculpture. But Khalid, at this time, stood firmly with his tribe against the growing influence of the Muslims in Mecca. In the year 624 century, the sands of Arabia started to tremble under the weight of impending conflict. The Muslims in Medina, under the leadership of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had achieved a stunning victory at the Battle of Badr with only 313 warriors. This triumph, against all odds, had not only secured their foothold, but also ignited a fire of defiance in the hearts of the Quraysh of Mecca. But now the Quraysh, who was powerful and affluent tribe, seethed with anger and humiliation. Their pride, wounded by the loss of their prominent leaders at Battle of Badr, they yearned for vengeance. Abu Sufyan, their current leader, rallied their forces with a singular aim: to crush the growing influence of Islam and restore their honor. Preparations for war were done very swiftly. The Quraysh assembled a formidable army of approximately 3,000 men, skilled cavalry and infantry. Meanwhile, in Medina, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his companions were not unaware of the storm gathering in Mecca against them. With divine guidance and strategic foresight, they started to prepare for the war and arranged 700 men, with full of courage. Knowing that the Quraysh would soon march towards them, they chose not to wait behind the city's walls, but to meet the enemy head-on in the open field. The chosen battleground was the plains near Mount Uhud, a rugged terrain that offered both challenges and advantages. The Muslims positioned themselves strategically with the mountain at their backs, providing a natural defense against the rear. They braced themselves for the inevitable clash. As the armies faced each other on that fateful day, the air crackled with tension and anticipation. The initial skirmishes saw the Muslims gaining ground, their fervor and unity propelling them forward. The Quraysh, taken aback by the resilience of their foes, found themselves pushed back and back, forced them to reassess their strategy amidst the chaos of battle. Yet, in a moment that would alter the course of the conflict, a critical error unfolded among the Muslim ranks. a group of archers stationed on a hill to protect the Muslim rear, as they saw the tide turning in their favor and succumbed to the temptation of spoils of war and victory. Disobeying the Prophet's explicit orders, hold their positions, they abandoned their post in pursuit of plunder and victory. This lapse in discipline did not go unnoticed by Khalid ibn Walid, a commander of the Quraysh army. Seizing this opportunity with silent and swift precision, Khalid led a daring cavalry charge that struck the unprotected flank of the Muslim army, which caught them off guard. The sudden onslaught caused confusion and disarray among the Muslim ranks, turning what seemed like imminent victory into a desperate struggle for survival. Amidst the chaos, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his closest companions fought valiantly, rallying the Muslims to stem the tide of the Quraysh onslaught. Though the battle ultimately ended with the Quraysh holding the field, they did not press their advantage to annihilate the Muslim forces completely. Instead, they withdrew silently, content with their revenge and the message they want to send. This battle, with its lessons of perseverance, strategic insight, and the consequences of disobedience, remains a profound chapter in Islamic history, while Khalid's role at Uhud battle was a prelude to his later conversion to Islam, where he would become one of its greatest generals, forever altering the course of history with his military prowess. However, as the years passed, and the message of Islam spread day by day, Khalid silently observing the resilience, unity, and expanding power of the Muslim community. The turning point for Khalid came after the Treaty of Hudaybiyah in 628th century. In the year 628th century, a significant treaty, known as the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, was signed between the Muslims and the Quraysh of Mecca. This treaty ensured a decade of peace, providing Muslims with a much-needed respite from conflict, spreading the teachings of Islam without the threat of war. Their honesty, integrity, and virtuous behavior slowly started to attract more people towards Islam. Khalid, while observing ideology and teachings of Muslims, he often wondered why, despite the Quraysh's superior equipment and cavalry, they consistently faced defeat at the hands of the Muslims. This persistent question lingered in Khalid's mind, gradually softening his heart towards Islam. One day in 629th century, Khalid bin Walid received a letter from his brother, who had converted to Islam and was residing in Medina. This letter conveyed a message from the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, asking, "Where is Khalid bin Walid? I want him to come out of the darkness and choose the bright light of Islam." This letter deeply affected Khalid. The Prophet's concern and the invitation to embrace a brighter path resonated with him. That very night, Khalid decided to act. He loosened the grip of his camel and, accompanied by his friend, Ammar ibn Abbas, set out for Medina. The next day, whole Medina welcomes them warm-heartedly. And on that fateful day, Khalid bin Mughira embraced Islam. As Islam continued to spread, the Prophet Muhammad sent an ambassador to the Roman Empire, but this ambassador was brutally killed by the Ghassanian kingdom. The Ghassanian kingdom was situated between the Arabs and the Roman Empire, and acted as a vassal state to the Romans. Killing the ambassador was tantamount to declaring war, not only in those times but even today. Killing a messenger is a war starter. When the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, learned about this, he immediately gathered an army of 3,000 men and decided to attack the Roman Empire. This was the largest Muslim army ever assembled until that time, while the Romans also recently won a dangerous war against the Persian Empire. The Romans and Persians were the two superpowers of that era, akin to the USA and Russia today. However, here, Prophet Muhammad started getting revelation from the Quran, in which they had predicted the outcome of this battle, even before it started, declaring the victory of the Muslims. This battle was significant, as it was the first time in history the Arabs attacked the Roman Empire, which was considered suicidal. When the Arabs learned that only 3,000 Muslims were attacking the Romans, they mocked them, claiming that not a single Muslim would return alive, and that the Romans would then attack Medina to end all the Muslims and kill them. While discussion among Muslims, Zayd bin Haritha, who considered the Prophet's son, he was appointed as the leader of the Muslim army for attacking Romans. The Prophet instructed that if Zayd bin Haritha were to be martyred, Ja'far bin Abi Talib would lead the army, and if Ja'far were also martyred, Abdullah bin Rawaha would take over. They were to offer Islam to their opponents first, and only fight if they refused. They were also instructed not to harm any women, children, elderly, or cut down unnecessary trees. As the army of 3,000 Muslims set off, they learned that the Romans had gathered more than 1,00,000 soldiers. The difference in numbers was enormous. Some Muslims suggested waiting for reinforcements from Medina would be a choice, but Abdullah bin Rawaha raised his sword and said that we either win or be martyred. Retreat from battle never being an option, the Muslims devised a plan to fight between two mountains, which prevented the large army of Romans from encircling them, so they choose and wait for them to come. After confronting this large army, Zayd bin Haritha led the charge and was martyred, followed by Ja'far bin Abi Talib, who continued fighting, even after losing both his hands before being martyred. Now, Abdullah bin Rawaha took command. Here Hazrat Khalid stands as a beacon of resilience. His armor, battered and stained from relentless combat, Khalid's movements are swift and decisive, his sword flashing as he engages Roman soldiers with unmatched ferocity. Abdul bin Rawaha, who took recent command, also fought bravely, until he too was martyred. The battlefield is a tumult of clashing swords, whinnying horses, and the cries of warriors. Amidst this chaos, the Muslims, now being leaderless, chose Khalid bin Walid as their new commander. His pre-Islamic bravery was very known to all Arab, despite breaking several swords in the battle. Remarkably, he breaks sword after sword, 9 swords in total, a testament to the intensity of his fight and the ferocity of his blows. Now, Khalid devises a brilliant ruse to outwit the Romans. He orders a portion of his forces to go back and pretend the arrival of reinforcements from Medina. These troops, positioned at strategic vantage points, create an illusion of a larger army advancing to join the fray. The sight and sound of these reinforcements instill uncertainty and hesitation in the Roman ranks. Believing that a fresh wave of Muslim soldiers is about to bolster their opponents, the Romans falter. Their advance started losing momentum. Seizing this critical opportunity, Khalid commands a strategic retreat. The Muslim army, moving with practiced discipline, begins to withdraw. Khalid, ever vigilant, ensures the retreat is executed with precision, minimizing casualties, maintaining the cohesion of his forces. The Romans, now disoriented and cautious, are now unable to capitalize Muslims, despite on their numerical advantage over Muslims. After commanding his army a dramatic retreat from the Battle of Mu'tah, the Muslim army, led by Khalid ibn Walid, successfully withdrew to a more defensible position. This strategic maneuver was possible due to Khalid's exceptional leadership and the clever deception that made the Romans believe reinforcements had arrived from Medina. His bravery was highlighted by the fact that he broke 9 swords during this intense battle, earning him immense respect and admiration from his troops. Upon their return to Medina, the Muslim forces were met with mixed reactions. Initially, some questioned their retreat and considering it a withdrawal rather than a victory. However, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, praised their efforts and strategy, especially recognizing Khalid's role in ensuring the army's safety and minimizing the losses. This endorsement from the Prophet helped to reshape the perception of the battle's outcome, framing it as a psychological victory rather than a defeat. The Battle of Mu'tah had significant implications. Despite being heavily outnumbered, the Muslims managed to hold their ground against a much larger Roman force, which was seen as a remarkable feat. The battle demonstrated the Muslims' bravery, strategic acumen, and ability to maintain discipline under pressure. The success in Mu'tah boosted the morale of the Muslim community and solidified Khalid ibn Walid's reputation as one of the greatest military leaders in history. Prophet Muhammad, after praising Khalid's actions and, in a moment of profound recognition, bestowed upon him the title of Saifullah, meaning the sword of Allah. This title was not just a mark of honor, but also a recognition of Khalid's unmatched skills as a military leader and his dedication to the cause of Islam. There are many wars and battles led by Khalid bin Walid. After this Battle of Mu'tah, and we will cover this battle in our second part of Khalid bin Walid, world's first AI movie, so subscribe our channel to view the second part. And also we are working on our next project of warrior tales, named as Dastani Karbala, so get hooked to dive into a story of sacrifice by Imam Hussein and his warrior family. Please show us your support also via like, comments and subscribe, and share your views too.